Welcome to our retail webinar series. Today, it's Crush the Holiday Rush with Desk.com, starring our amazing MVP customer, Adam Kovalt from Bonobos. I'd also like to introduce our amazing Desk.com account executives, Brad Nakanishi and Nicole McLeod, who are going to be assisting me in this webinar. So this is our safe harbor slide. If you've seen any Salesforce presentation, you know the slide very well. And all it simply states is, as a publicly traded company, please do not make any purchasing decisions based on forward-looking statements, but rather only on currently available technology. So let's get right into it. So this slide may not be a surprise to you retail veterans out there, but I think it really helps us set up the context and the use case that we're going to be talking about today in this webinar, specifically with what Adam's going to be speaking about a little bit later. And again, what you already may know is that foot traffic to brick and mortar retail stores is going down, and a lot more people are finding and making purchasing decisions online, whether it's at their computer or on their mobile device. And so this slide isn't telling you to obviously close the doors of your brick and mortar stores, because we know a lot of amazing brands, and in fact, most amazing brands know that the retail experience, the brick and mortar retail experience, is still critical. That's the way people really breathe your brand. That's really the way you can highlight and showcase the look and feel of your brand. So it's absolutely a great practice to have that if the resources are at your disposal. But then again, on the other hand, we have these behemoths like Amazon that have completely disrupted the way people shop. And so when we look at how these behaviors have changed, we also know that related to this are the way customer expectations have changed. Number two, and because of these demands are changing, because the way that retailers are doing business is changing, you have to understand that there's a lot of different ways you can serve customers, right? So it's no longer people just walking into the store, and no longer people just walking around the aisles or just, browsing for what they want. People actually expect you to know what they want before they walk in the door. They actually expect you to know what they want when they log into your site. People are very, very used today to very personalized, very contextualized examples, right? Not necessarily a retail example, but think about Uber, right? We don't want to sit on the corner of a street and wave to a taxi cab that we have no idea who they are, they have no idea who we are, but we actually want to just open up an application and we want to know before that person arrives, like who our driver is, what car they're driving, and they know about us as well. They know where we want to go before we even have that first conversation. And that, again, that personalization, that being able to service anybody, anywhere, at any time, and proactively kind of help those people or meet those people's needs before that actual personal connection happens, that's the way you define great customer service today. And that's especially true for retailers, because competition is absolutely fierce in the retail market. And if you're a smaller brand or a growing business, 50% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? And so there's so many, factors and elements that are coming at you as a growing business that you have to be aware of. Customer service is one of the most obvious and one of the most cost-effective ways to be a leader in your industry. So what are the common challenges that our retail customers see? And I know, again, Adam will talk a little bit about this, later on in the presentation. But so number one, and what we particularly want to focus on today, is retail at times of surge, right? Whether it's a holiday or a seasonal surge, or whether it's Cyber Monday, what have you. When your company takes on, an extreme amount of customers in a short period of time, and again, we know that 60% of our retail customers see 60% of their revenue during holiday periods, is very, very significant. So a couple months out of a 12-month period of time, you're seeing most of your revenue come in. That's pretty significant. So what does that mean when you get an influx of customers in a very short period of time? Well, number one, if you're not prepared, if you don't have a customer support solution in place, for example, you're going to have a lot of customers' questions that are going to go unanswered. You're going to have a lot of customers that are asking you to help them decide on what to buy, and you're not going to be able to meet those demands because, again, looking at the second point here, your agents are going to be buried in customer inquiries. And if you don't have the appropriate way to either organize these inquiries or to ensure the right people are answering the right questions, to enable, the opportunity for your agents to track every single question that comes in and allow you to respond accordingly, these customers are going to get lost. And then even once you have that down pat, once you have actually figured out the 101s of customer service, then you're going to look back after the surge and say, well, what did we learn from this, right? What are people buying? Like, what do people have issues with? How is the process, the delivery process, the return process, what have you? If you don't have the insights in place, and again, you can't do insights manually, you're going to miss out on a lot of that customer information that's going to drive your business decisions, not only in the short term, but for the rest of the year. And so that's what brings us here today. We're really, we're not focusing on what Desk.com is. We're focusing on how Bonobos really rocks it during peak season. But Desk.com, for those of you that may not know, is it's an all-in-one support application specifically designed for fast-growing companies. Again, this can be up and running in hours. Adam, I'm not quite sure if you were around for the implementation, because I know, again, Bonobos has been a very, very old school customer of Desk.com. So if you can, I'll definitely be asking you about the implementation process. But a lot of our customers get up and running in hours, and I mean solving real cases in hours. Because of the productivity tools we have in place, companies are able to automate a lot of the responses that they give to customers, so that if a customer or 100 customers are asking you the same question on a day-to-day basis, your agents don't have to be bogged down answering those very, very simple questions. Your agents can automate that process, automate the workflow, and focus on the most important customers and the most important questions. And then finally is a 360-degree view of your customer. So what does that mean? That simply means, and this could take up an entirely new webinar, the integration with support and the rest of your business really, really helps companies speed up that customer support process. What do I mean? For example, as a retail company, if you had the ability, which you do in Desk.com, to pull in your ordering system right into the agent interface, now if your agents receive a question from an existing customer that has a question about an order, that agent doesn't have to go out of the system, ask a colleague, or even open another tab. They can actually access all the information that's relevant to them right within the interface, and they can solve that customer's question much more quickly than they would if they were using a system that didn't really have that great integration with the rest of your business. So that's enough of me talking for the near term. I'm actually going to switch it over to Brad. He's going to give you guys a real demo of the product so you can see it in real time. And hopefully this will give you a little bit more of a representation of what we're talking about here. So Brad, I will kick it over to you. And hopefully, you have it now.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for that little tidbit, Elvis. It sounds like we're going to be well prepared to show a little bit more about how Desk.com can support retail, and specifically how you can get it up and running extremely quickly to be ready for that holiday rush, right? So hopefully everybody can see my screen. It should be the Pandora Help Center. Now, just to help set expectations for the flow of the demo, I'm going to actually show you a couple live examples of where the customer experience really begins. Then I'm going to actually walk through my demo site, submit a fake ticket, and then walk through some of the workflows and productivity tools we have for your agents to be able to answer and respond. And then I'll finish up with some admin panel and also some reporting. Now, I'm going to start with Pandora because, for one, it's a brand that most people know, but they have hundreds of thousands of end users. And with that said, they want to provide the self-service experience for their users because, let's face it, it's a win-win situation, both for your customer and for the organization at Pandora, right? Consumers these days want to be able to go on their own time, on whatever device is most convenient for them, to be able to find the answer themselves, right? And if we can provide that on the front end of the customer experience, that means one less case being created for your agents. And again, during the holiday rush, they're going to be inundated. And what's nice about the Help Center here is that I can go into this Google-like search and actually start typing in keywords or my question. As you can see here, I'm actually trying to figure out, how do I actually create a station? And what's nice from a navigation perspective is that the most relevant content's bubbling up to the very top. So as again, end user, I don't have to navigate around this website to find the answer I'm looking for. Now, when I drop into the article itself, it's going to have a lot of content here that would hopefully answer my question. What you're seeing here is text only. Desk.com does support media-rich content. So think of videos, think of images, and you can even go ahead and attach documents here for people to download directly from the article. I can also vote if this was helpful or not, which gets tracked inside of Desk.com that allows you to better understand which content you might need to update and which ones you don't. And with Pandora specifically, they've created a quick escalation channel right within that article that drops me into this email form that I can go ahead and fill out that then creates a ticket inside of Desk.com. Now keep in mind, all of this is highly customizable to your business needs, especially around branding and how you really want to drive that self-service experience. Now, given that we have Adam here from Bonobos, I wanted to show you just a quick example of their help center and show you a little bit of a different flavor of how this could actually be set up. So you have the Bonobos Help Center here. Again, they have a lot of their FAQs just readily available, so it's easy for me to find. And then I can always contact a ninja, as they call it, which I think is awesome for things that I need to escalate. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my demo instance. Now, this is something that I tried to emulate Bonobos' website here. And what you're going to find is that I'm going to scroll down. You can see here we've got some things around, hey, how do I reset my password, tracking my order, placing the order, etc. But really, for the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and fill out an email form, which is going to create a ticket. And for the record, I'm actually going to be the customer service agent inside of Desk.com. So Lauren Boyle is going to be my demo contact. Now, as I begin to fill out this form, what you're going to see is on the right-hand side, dynamically, content is bubbling up. And why this is important is because this is one of Desk.com's safety valves for case deflection. And what we're going to go ahead and do is just fill out a quick please help. I can choose to file an attachment or multiple attachments. You might get this very often, especially if I have a damaged package that I've received. And I'm going to take a picture and go ahead and submit an inquiry. Now, what's going to happen here is when I click send an email, we're going to have the email form actually take a preemptive pass through the knowledge base. And what happens here is that if you have content that's going to match it, it will actually pop open a dialog box that says, hey, we've got content here that's going to answer your question. Save yourself the time with an immediate answer. And again, it goes hand in hand with that immediate answer, right? That instant gratification. Now, I'm jumping into the agent user interface here. So we're going to change roles. And now I'm actually acting as a customer service ninja or agent. A couple things to point out here. On the right-hand side here, this is what we call our multi-channel universal blended inbox, meaning no longer are the days that you have to actually have Twitter open and Facebook open and your email box open. Everything is going to funnel into this very simplistic user interface for you to go ahead and manage and be able to respond to. And again, we're talking about the productivity tools here that's going to really drive down the response time to your customers. Now, over on the left-hand side, this is how we stay organized. These are basically filters within Desk.com. You could really think of them as queues. And what we have going on here is the ability to segment by types of cases. Or maybe you want to have a filter for VIP customers, customers that maybe spend more than $1,000 a year with you. You can identify those and prioritize them accordingly. Now, on top of that, you could actually determine who has access to what filter. And this falls in line more around your role within customer service. You might be a subject matter expert in, maybe shipments and tracking and returns and exchanges. So the idea here is to actually scale down and simplify this user interface. So when I log in, I only see what's relevant to me, meaning I can just get started with what I need to accomplish for that day. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up that Lauren Boyle ticket that we've submitted. But before I do, a couple of things to point out. You'll see the tracking label has automatically been appended to this, as well as the VIP label. And that's just an example of some very simple point and click, drag and drop type of workflow that allows me to understand what this is actually about, that allows me to route accordingly. And because she's a VIP customer, we went ahead and increased the priority to a level 10. Again, so I can prioritize my customers. Now, jumping into the case, I'm actually going to jump right back out to show you what happens if you have multiple people working within the same filter views. This would actually be grayed out, okay? Lauren Boyle's ticket would be grayed out, and there would be a little lock over here, meaning that somebody else on your team is actually working on the case. This is what we call preventing agent collision. So the rest of the folks would have read-only access until I, as the customer service agent, the one updating the case, is actually closed out, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to jump back into the case and point out some things very briefly. For one, here's all the contact information from Lauren Boyle, and we can tell here via a custom field that she is indeed a VIP customer. Over here in the center area, we have a lot of the dynamic interaction happening, but we also have some tools here like a full customer history. I'm pulling up 183, now 184 previous cases from Lauren Boyle, which is fantastic because now I have this, and Elvis stated this before, this 360-degree view of Lauren Boyle and her interaction with the customer service team. You can see here she's submitted things around how do I return an item, and I can find out how we responded right within this hover over feature, which means that I don't have to actually open up the case. Now, as we go back here, a couple things to point out on the case detail side. All your ticket management information, but as we scroll down, we have a custom field that I created in just a few minutes to identify some better tracking for me, right? Was it exchange, feedback, inventory, etc.? But we also have an integration framework. And this integration framework specifically that you see here is called Canvas. Elvis touched on this before, but this is going to actually allow you to bring in other applications that your customer service agents or ninjas actually have to access in order to reconcile the customer's issue right within the Desk.com interface. So we're talking about saving time and just being more productive right within the Desk agent. Now, for this example, how nice would it be for me to be able to process a refund in our e-commerce system directly from Desk.com? This information is not static. I could click refund and actually process a refund. And you can see here we can bring in order history as well. There's a lot of flexibility and integration flexibility here for you to be able to make Desk that single point of truth. And we scroll down here, you've got a description, some attachments, and a case timeline. The case timeline is just an audit trail that provides transparency and some accountability, telling you who's done what and what automations actually happened. But let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Let's find out how we can be productive and actually respond to Lauren Boyle. So a couple of scenarios that I'm going to walk you through. The first one is going to be, I get this inquiry, but I'm not exactly sure how to answer this. And this is where Desk.com's Flex Agent licensing model comes into play that allows you to really bring in others during this holiday rush to help with the influx of inquiries. So I get it. I'm not exactly sure how to answer it. The last thing that I want to do is go ahead and try to have to bug Nicole. Hey, how do I answer this? Or, you know, maybe I have to bug a manager like Elvis. Hey, I need some help. I don't know how to answer that. That's the last thing you're going to want to do. So what we're going to do is basically click on the knowledge base icon here. And let me go ahead and fix my screen. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see my screen?
You see your screen.
Okay. Sorry guys, having some There we go. Having some tech difficulties. Perfect. So hopefully everybody's following me here. Now, I just clicked on a little open book icon, and what this allows me to do is access any public-facing information as well as any private information. Private meaning for your agent's eyes only. Your customers will never ever see this. So for this one, I might type in, track. How can I track my order once it's shipped? Fantastic. I can take a look at the full article here. And again, given that I'm not the expert, I still have the ability to provide that consistent response, right? And I can even see that we have an email template to go out as well. So what I could do is click this, insert to text to case because I like it, and here I go. I have this response in here. I'm going to go ahead and make the updates to the case. Now, the other scenario is that I'm going to get this inquiry and I already know how to answer it. I already know we have a shortcut, and our shortcuts are actually called macros. Our customers love this. Adam will be talking about this, and there's a few ways to actually apply that macro. I can search here in the scroll down. I don't have too many, so I can easily find it. Typically, our customers have quite a few, so we can go here and type it in. But better yet, because I know that we have a shortcut, I'm going to trigger an inline macro via ##, and I'm going to start typing this out. You can see here, how can I track my order once it's shipped? Voila, we have the templated response go in, but what you're going to see have happen over here is that the status goes to resolved, the macro test label is added, the custom field value is automatically filled out for me, and the description's added. So not only does this save time, but it also provides a consistent methodology to how your organization actually labels and fills out a actual case. So from a reporting standpoint, you're getting that consistency to drive better business decisions. Now, I'm actually going to keep this in open. I'm not going to close the tab, and I'm going to click send an update. So what happens here is that it actually gives you about 5 seconds to say, oops, I didn't mean to send that, and we can easily undo this, right? Now, once it actually goes through, you'll see that it's going to be sending to the email server. But one other cool feature I want to talk to you about is this add note. This is for private collaboration only, and it's your ability to add some color and context to really drive down better collaboration on these tickets. So, for example, maybe I need an approval to do a refund. Well, what I could do here is say something like that, and typically what happens is I'll go and assign it to the supervisor team, and we'll just keep it unassigned for now. Now, when I click update, what's going to happen here is that this note gets added in yellow, so clearly it's a private note. Now, when Elvis actually gets this case assigned to him or the management group, they're not going to wonder why I assigned it to them. There's actually color there for them to see. And this is going to save time. And not only that, because I have 3 managers in there, Elvis might be busy. He might be out of the office. So another manager might see it aging in this queue, in the supervisor queue, pick it up, know exactly what the call to action is, and be able to then approve it, reassign it back to me, and off I go. Now, hopefully this made a lot of sense to you in terms of the short and brief kind of meat and potatoes of how to drive a quick interaction with your customers. Now, with that said, I'm going to jump over to the admin panel really quick. So we talked about this idea of flex users. Now, flex users are actually billed for the amount of time they're actually logged into the application. And why this is great is because, again, during peak season, you may only need this part-time help for a month or 2 or 3. And so Desk is cost effective in the sense that you can add these people to help out when you need them and only have to pay for them when they access the application. You can see here David Hayes is a flex agent. He hasn't logged in yet, shame on him, but it allows me to monitor this. I can easily click into his user profile and promote him to full-time maybe if I think that he's going to be in the application quite a bit during that month. Now, this is our centralized admin panel. So if I jump over to the cases, which is really where a lot of the magic happens, where all the configuration happens, you can see it's mainly point and click, drag and drop. Maybe I want to see VIP customers at the very top. I just drag it up top, That filter will then show at the very top in the agent user interface, and we're good to go. And the last thing I want to highlight in the admin panel is the rules section here. So Desk actually breaks it down into many interaction points within a case lifecycle, and we even have time-based rules. So if we actually take the tracking rule, you'll see here that we're just picking up some keywords in the subject around tracking and track, and I can go ahead and have these rule actions take place. There's no coding involved. It's all just point and click configuration via all conditions or any conditions, which is really and or logic. And from a content creation standpoint, it's extremely easy to do. So if we go to tracking my order and I click in this article here, we're going to see here that I can update this article, and as soon as I click update, in real time, it's reflected on your website. So no longer do you have to actually work through IT or a webmaster to get that stuff updated. And what's nice here is that Desk.com is channel aware. So we have this email canned response right here. But if I were to go down to Twitter, I can see that I have a Twitter specific response. And what this means is that as an agent, when I apply a macro, whether it's on an email case or a Twitter case, Desk is going to know which response to pull in given the constraints, right? Twitter, you only have 140 characters, so obviously we want to keep that really brief. Now, lastly, I want to touch on some reporting. Now, our dashboard here has a bunch of components in it. It is real time, and it tells you really what's going on today, what's happening now. And so we can see cases by filter, case volume today by channel, top labels, top macros, right? This is helping you understand trending. Gosh, we have had 6 inquiries about tracking. What's driving that? Are we having some issues with our logistics vendor, right? Maybe that's FedEx or UPS. Maybe that's pinpointing an underlying problem. You have top macro usage. This guy, Brad, is our top agent. He's kicking butt, right? Our average time to first response, besides that peak at 9:30, looks like we're doing pretty darn well. So great insights for the management team or the supervisor team to know what's going on right now. Now, a couple of more popular reports here. The overview report. I've got it going on for just the last 7 days here. But what you're going to see here is that basically today we've got 6 created cases, 0 resolved. So we really haven't been that productive. But you can kind of see here if we've got some things that actually have been resolved, you've got a 30-minute average time to first response. That's fantastic, right? Our average handle time is 1 minute and 56, right? You've got a lot of data here to be able to understand how your organization is performing. We can even scroll over to see the number of inbound and outbound interactions. This actually is a very, very popular metric to understand because, again, you want to drive a seamless customer experience. And if you're having to go back to that customer to get more information to be able to resolve their inquiry, there's got to be a better way. And this is gonna give you insights on how to fix that. And we can obviously go all the way up to customer satisfaction ratings. So with Desk.com, you can survey your customers, you can get their sentiment on every interaction or just the first interaction, especially with those first close. Now, lastly, I want to touch on the labels report. This is a very popular report, and this is going to help you understand trending. So bottom line, not only does it segment out the types of inquiries and how we're responding, like password reset, for example, 50 created cases. We've got about a 47-minute handle time on this. But 50, that might be a lot to you. You might have authentication issues, again, on your front-end e-commerce site, and that is business critical to make sure you have working. Otherwise, people can't purchase products. And so, again, a lot of these reports, as Elvis stated, are going to be able to give you those insights to be more proactive versus reactive. And I think that's the big thing to take away from our Business Insights reporting platform. Now, with that said, this is what I have for the demo. Hopefully it hit home for a lot of you. I'm going to now pass this back over to Elvis so we can interview Adam from Bonobos.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brad. That was an amazing demo, better than I could ever do. Now let me just take this back from you.
Oh, cool.
Show my screen. Awesome. So let's kick it over to the fun part. First of all, Adam, hopefully you can hear me now. Again, I'm not going to tell you guys much about Adam or about Bonobos. I'm going to let him do that. But Adam, if you wouldn't mind, let's just start by giving the folks on the phone a little bit more information about Bonobos, why you guys are awesome, and a little bit more about what you do.
Sure. Well, for those who aren't aware, we're basically totally online men's and also women's clothing retailer. The company was founded in 2007 on the idea of making a better fitting men's pant and making clothing shopping fun. A couple of the ways that we've done that is, or at least are trying to, reimagine or reinvent how that's done is with a really dynamic website. Guide shop models, which you can see pictured there on the screenshot, where a customer can come in, they get an hour appointment with a guide, and then ultimately at the end of the day they don't walk out with anything. The purchase is made for them online there. And then, I think the other way that we make it fun is through the Ninjas, which is the team that I currently manage. We have a group of 30, some part-timers, some full-timers. The emphasis on our service is human, funny, irreverent when possible. Basically, be the voice of the company and use common sense to solve all situations. We don't really have a ton in the way of stringent policies. And yeah, that's the short of it. I don't know if you have any other questions there, Elvis.
No, tell us a little bit more about yourself, how long you've been there, kind of like what are the major things that you deal with on your team on a day-to-day basis, and then we can dive more into the product. But I'm sure people would love to hear kind of like what your day-to-day looks like and kind of more about you personally.
Yeah, sure. So I joined Bonobos in 2012. I had been working as an actor in New York for about a year and a half, and then decided that life was not the one for me and that I needed to figure out something. So my basic requisite was just to be happy, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I joined Bonobos and became a ninja. The company was a lot different then. It was about 70 people. We're now at about 300. And, I kind of got a great sense of what everything was like at the front lines because we were so small. There were about 20 ninjas then. And, slowly but surely just kind of worked hard and got more responsibility. I was a queue lead at one point, so managing our day-to-day workflow operations and planning out what certain days would look like. A team lead in terms of managing the people and the ninjas and making sure they feel supported and that their work is meeting the standard that we hold it to. And then for about 2 years, I've been in this position, a little under that. And my day-to-day is supporting an operations side, which is concerned with metrics, scheduling, workflow, and just the accountability of our room and how we're supporting the business, and then also supporting the people side, where we have probably 4 people on that side who each have a team of 10 ninjas, 8 to 10 ninjas. We're looking at their work from a productivity and quality perspective, supporting them in their development, as well as trying to imagine ways to make the company and our service better. Those types of creative initiatives come from the people side, and the ops side is concerned with just the hard numbers of our day-to-day work. So that's my day-to-day, and just
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Em. I think it always helps to give a little bit of context. Obviously, you know what you're talking about first and foremost, but every customer service team is extremely unique, despite the fact it's at every company. So it's always nice to hear how that story plays out for some of our customers. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this amazing slide in Ninjapalooza. But I think how I'd like to set this up for our audience is can you talk about really briefly and really high level before we get into how you use the product, like what does Holiday Rush look like for bonobos? Like what do you guys do on a very high level? How do you plan for it before you start managing cases? Like, so what does that process, that management process look like as you're approaching some of your major, peak periods in the year?
Sure. I think and as we're in it right now, as we're planning for it, I can speak probably a lot better to it than I would be able to in September. But our peak, we're constantly looking at order volume in relation to the number of contacts that we get. So the metric there is contacts per order. So if we are projecting that we're going to get 15,000 orders on a day, well, what are we trending in terms of the CPO, contacts per order metric? From that metric, we try and discern how many Ninja hours we're going to need for a given day, a given week, to basically take in all of the incoming volume that we're getting. And then granularly, we look at sort of our trends at an hour-by-hour cadence and try and staff people appropriately so that we're ready to go for peak volume times. So as we're looking at Black Friday and Cyber Monday and some upcoming October holidays, the ultimate highest level degree is that we're looking at what our projected orders are, finding out from what we're trending at what our projected contacts are, and then staffing up or down depending on what that metric is.
And I imagine sorry to interrupt, Adam. I just want to ask, so I imagine that's another great benefit of Flex Agents, right? Because, I mean, even if you're a very successful company, you have the people in place that know what they're doing, the planning is never going to be 100% accurate. So just having the ability for people to pay based on what they use as opposed to any planning probably helps significantly.
For sure, absolutely. It never goes the way that we think it's going to go. I think we'll talk about this later, but I mean, one of the ways that we try and make the workflow efficient when it doesn't go the way it goes is by using desk filters and trying to basically map out what our incoming contacts are, approaching those. Say you've got a high incoming volume day, higher than we estimated. Well, then let's go into Plan B and let's start using Desk and the workflow systems that you guys have set up to make our workflow better. A perfect example is a promotion that potentially is confusing the customers. It was mailed out at 9 a.m. and a bunch of people are replying to the mailer. Well, then our go-to there is to set up a filter that's basically going to capture all of the replies to that mailer so that we can task force that appropriately, so that we don't have to pay OT, so that we don't have to dig ourselves out of the hole for 2 weeks, so that we can hit those contacts quickly and efficiently, and make sure that our customers are getting a great response, but also a quick response. That's
actually a really good point. I want to reiterate this for the folks on the phone, and because what I hear from you is that so filters, especially as we saw in the demo, it can seem like a very static process, right? Kind of like our inbox. Like we set up filters, that's the way they stay. It's but stale. But you're describing a very good use case where filters are actually very, very dynamic in real time. You guys can put up a filter based on a potential issue that you see right away and have those cases going to the right people on a day-to-day basis, right?
100%. Yeah, we're constantly toying and playing with all of the stuff that we can do with filters. Every day we're looking at different ways to just get a different type of perspective there. You can push filters to different people. Generally, we don't do that. We think that ninjas can answer everything, but it is a great tool for the people running the room. Hey, this is happening today. Let's try and conquer this contact in a specific way, and approach it that way.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously, we talk a lot about how technology solves people's problems, but let's be honest, the foundation of any technology is hiring the right people to do the job well, correct?
For sure. Yeah.
So So we talked about filters, and again, kind of following the same logic that Brad followed. Now we're actually into a case. Your team is solving cases. How valuable are macros to your team, especially during these peak times?
Yeah, and I would stress for us, especially during the peak time, they're exceptionally valuable. During peak holiday time, you've got things like weather, stopping packages. You've got questions that are a common trend, retroactive refunds. What is your return policy for new customers? Things that we obviously want to treat with the same amount of, respect as we would any other contact, but things that we could probably do in 5 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes. So macros for us are really big during this peak time because we have a lot of contacts that can be solved with relatively the same response other than a change of a name and a change of an order number. So we have loaded into our desk system about 100 macros, but within that we probably would use maybe 15 around holiday time to just make those really arduous sometimes, both on the people side. Like I don't want ninjas doing the same email over and over and over again. I want the work to be exciting, and I want the work to be ever changing. We use it for that. It works great for us. We estimate that a ninja can do probably 4 emails an hour, which I know is low for most contact centers, but it's the emphasis that we put on quality is why that metric stands there. But then when we implement macros, we have different ways of measuring how quickly we think you could get a macro finished, and it should be about if you're doing 20 cases, you should be able to bang out about 20 of a macro case in an hour. So it's huge for us.
That's awesome. Thanks, Adam. And I'm slightly joking here, but I kind of want to reference that initial slide about a lot of the problems that, a lot of our retail customers face kind of before they figure out what their technology solution should be. And just really high level and kind of anecdotal. What would happen if you were trying to do this manually?
I think we had that last year. If we were trying to do it manually, as in the responses that are all the same all the time, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We would be in a backlog for days, for weeks. It would never end. The morale of the team would more than likely go down during a time when you need the morale of the team to be super high, because we're asking people to basically do the same thing over and over and over again, but give it the same amount of love and attention that we'd ask them to put to a case that probably deserves it. And in terms of workflow, we'd never get out of it. We had a situation where our queue was at about 800 last year, which was the highest it's ever been for us. And that's when we really sprinted at making these macros, because a lot of the contacts were the same. And we were able to get out of an 800 queue with about a team of 20 in relatively 24 hours. Because of the use of macros, I think we use macros for about 50% of the contacts.
That's great. So that just doing a quick math, that's a little bit more than four emails per hour, right?
Yeah. Correct. Especially when you factor in that we are still getting incoming emails.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So what I want to do is spend the last just few minutes talking about a very, very important part before we kind of get to Q&A. And obviously that's like business insights. And so I think for this, Adam, what would be really valuable is talk about what were some of the questions you wish you could have answered before using insights, and what are some of the major questions that you can answer now because of insights. And again, let's keep this within the context as in especially during these peak times.
Yeah. Totally. I think during peak holiday time, the things that we're most obsessed with is how are our resolves at an hourly cadence? So is the team performing to how we expect them to, hour by hour? So questions that before insights, we were just making anecdotal guesses, and not utilizing the team on an hour basis in the way that we could set realistic expectations for them. Now we're able to do that. We can in real time use new business insights and ultimately make those calls and track it daily, weekly, however you want to look at it, and get a sense of, are we staffing correctly? Do we need to make a modification? Are we are we getting the most out of the team that we're staffing to conquer peak times? All of that stuff is super important. The other big piece for us is we have ninjas categorize every case and categorize every case with multiple drop downs. What that does is it basically gives us insight into what the type of case is, what the type of contact is, and if there are any stories to the day, to the week that we need to share and build with a solution cross-functionally. Great example is last year. We had a ton of customers in a day ask for us to basically start their exchange request, something that you should have been able to do on the website. We felt anecdotally that we were getting that contact, but we used new business insights to make that case and make the argument for a tech fix, and the tech fix happened in a matter of hours, as opposed to just making anecdotal arguments in meetings or in emails and not really having much to stand by. So it tells the story of our experience, and we're able to react and prep and plan the ninjas accordingly. So we're looking at that every day in a pretty big way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Adam. And kind of just to round this off before we open to Q&A. And folks, if you do have questions specifically for Adam, please ask them now. He's definitely an amazing resource, and I would love to use him to answer any questions you guys might have, whether it's desk related or not, right? We're all about, just being that go-to to hopefully provide you guys with some light about how to handle customer service in these times. But to reiterate, again, Desk.com or any customer service solution that you use, if you're not thinking about it now before these peak seasons arrive, it's not too late. Again, it's an out-of-the-box solution. It truly can get up and running in hours. You can be solving live cases in the same day. You can see the automations, the customizations, as Adam spoke about. There's a lot of things you can do on the fly. So it's not like you have to be an expert on how to use Desk from day one. You let your customer service experience dictate how you customize your own Desk experience. And so, and the greatest news of all, we're talking about flex hours. If you on the webinar right now, if you have an interest, if you sign up for a free trial, if you go to Desk.com and do so, and you actually end up going with us, we'll give you 100 free flex hours. And that's pretty great, especially around this time of year. So with that being said, I know we have a few general questions. If there's any questions for Adam, please let us know. Otherwise, we can go ahead and get to the general questions. So we'll give you guys just a couple seconds if you want to ask any more questions. Otherwise, Adam, we might just let you go early, and then Nicole and I can hammer out these general questions because I know you're super busy.
Cool. Whenever you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, it doesn't look like there's anything specifically, unfortunately. Hopefully I asked all the good questions for everybody. But Adam, I know you're super busy. I'm going to say thank you so much for just doing this with such short notice and being such an amazing, piece of this presentation, and for being a great customer. But again, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, please feel free to drop off, and we'll just take these questions for the rest of the folks.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Good luck to everyone in their holiday season.
Awesome. Later, Adam.
All right. Bye.
So moving on to some of the more general questions, I'm actually going to kick it over to Nicole to answer these questions. And if you guys have general questions, ask away, and then I'll add some color. But Nicole, let's kick it off.
Okay, great. Thanks, Elvis. So the first question that we got is, why would I use Desk.com over Service Cloud? And so for those of you who are not familiar, Salesforce has two separate customer service products, Desk.com and Service Cloud. And we get this question a lot because a lot of people just really don't understand the differences. And so what I would say, the easiest explanation is Desk.com is really an out-of-the-box application to get up and running fast, easily support your customers at a very cost-effective rate, and it's a system that's really easy for you to implement and customize on your own. Service Cloud is a platform. It's amazing. You can do anything that you want, but it's something that you really build from scratch. So typically it's something that's a better fit for really large enterprise customers or customers that have very complex use cases, lots of different people that are having to interact to actually resolve a ticket. So generally speaking, we do see that for retail customers specifically, Desk.com is potentially a better fit, but certainly you can contact your account executive to determine both options.
Yeah, to add some color, I mean, Bonobos is obviously a perfect use case, not just because they're part of the presentation, but because as a retail business, the cases generally aren't that complicated, right? You guys probably receive the same issues day in and day out, obviously with respect to what someone bought or when they need to return it or if they have a question about a certain product. But generally, you're solving the same questions over and over. On the other side, the Service Cloud side, let's say you're a healthcare company, right? And you need to pull in information from doctors, from insurance companies, from other providers, and you need all of your business tied into the support process to actually support the support process itself and to give your agents enough information to solve these cases, then that's a perfect use case for a platform. But again, as Nicole said, this is standalone. It's dead simple to get set up. It's super powerful. It does have integrations because we want to give this product the ability to scale with you. But that's why Salesforce has two products, because we serve two different customer bases, and we don't want to have one product that solves everyone's issues because that becomes a very complicated product. So thanks for that question.
Great. And the next question that we have is, which Desk.com plan is being used in the demo? A little bit tough to answer just because, but what I would say is most of the features that you saw today are available in all the plans of Desk.com. The filters, the macros, the internal and external knowledge base, multi-channel support, all that's available in any plan of Desk. Some of the things that would be just available on some of the higher tier plans that were indicated were the Canvas framework for more complex integrations with third-party systems, or the dashboards that were real-time. That's a Business Plus feature. But most of the basics are available in any plan.
Yeah, and the reason for that, obviously, is because we don't charge a la carte for our services, right? We want to make it very, very transparent. We want to make the buying decision very, very easy for our customers. So that way, whenever you choose an edition, you know exactly what you're getting, and you never have to worry about, will you have to pay more down the road? You know from day one what it's going to cost you, and it's going to continue to cost you that, in perpetuity. So I think that's all of our questions. If you guys don't have anything else, thank you so much for sticking with us. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. I'd like to say that wouldn't happen again, but you can never tell. It is technology. But with that, thanks again. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.